Star Dragon, one of the 6 nations. The majority of Star Dragon's population was comprised of yellow people, and its national symbol was a celestial dragon. The bad blood between Star Dragon and the Germinal organization can be traced back to the Battle of Andria, where the Germinal organization had colluded with other enemies of Star Dragon to launch large-scale assaults on its cities during the crucial period of the war. Casualties numbered in the hundreds of thousands, and Star Dragon had been forced to recall all its forces. Back then, it had severely weakened their status as one of the 6 nations. All of Star Dragon's cities were barricaded by great electric fences of barbed wire, and the only way to enter any city was through a main gate. The freight train arrived at the open-air train station connected to the entrance of the city. The area was like a military base. There were bunkers and watchtowers guarded by the army. Troops were stationed in every corner. Over 1,000 wanderers alighted onto the station square. They began to queue up for the inspection. Only those confirmed not to possess weaponry or carry infectious diseases were permitted to enter. The 6 nations all welcomed wanderers. The war had caused a lack of manpower and talent. Han Xiao needed to find a way to evade inspection. The Germinal organization had offered a bounty for him, so things could go awry if he were to be recognized. While his aim was to get in touch with Division 13, he could not risk being exposed before then. Fortunately, there existed a way. Back in the game, players that were wanted by a country simply had to pay a smuggler NPC a fee to be sneaked in. There was a very inconspicuous man in a corner of the station. He was neither queuing up to enter, nor seemed to be waiting for anything in particular. This man was the ringleader of the smuggling business, and normally, he would only serve people who were trusted in their network. Suddenly, he noticed a frail-looking man coming up to him. It was none other than Han Xiao. "Is it safe?" he asked. The ringleader looked up at Han Xiao. It was a face he did not recognize. "Safe," the ringleader played dumb. "I'll pay with these enough." Han Xiao tossed his backpack to the ringleader. He opened the bag up to take a look inside. Holy shit! So many guns! Which syndicate is this young master the boss of? As guns were prohibited in the western capital, Han Xiao had to dispose of them one way or the other. "Enough, definitely enough. Where did you learn about my business?" he curiously asked. "That's none of your business." The ringleader took no offense to Han Xiao. He knew that he had been too inquisitive in his excitement. He got up and asked Han Xiao to follow. Han Xiao was led to a van parked outside the station. There were already a few passengers on board, and when he arrived, he became the center of attention. Han Xiao found a spot and sat down quietly. The windows of the van were plastered with black tape. The van would bring them to a secret military side entrance. As long as the price was right, the officer in charge would turn a blind eye. A short young man was sitting beside Han Xiao. Bored, and seeing that Han Xiao seemed like an easygoing person, the young man spoke to him. "Little brother, your first time to the western capital?" Han Xiao glanced at him and replied, "Yeah, it is. How should I address you?" "Ma Ji, you." Han Xiao. "Hanny, since it's your first time to the western capital, I shall introduce you to the city. The western capital is divided into 8 districts. District 1 is the seat of the government, and where the officials reside. No one is allowed to enter there. The other 7 districts each have their own attractions, but they are all secretly controlled by big shots in the underworld. Remember, never offend any of them, or else you might lose your life." Han Xiao sighed inwardly. The underworld referred to illegal operations like drugs, prostitution, trafficking, and mercenaries. These big shots that Ma Ji mentioned were actually just small-time hoodlums. Ma Ji was clearly trying to brag. "What about the army?" asked Han Xiao. "Ha, what can they do? Do you expect them to raid the districts? My cousin is the right-hand man of one of the bosses in the underworld. I came here to seek help him," boasted Ma Ji. "Wow, you're so cool," replied Han Xiao. Being praised sent Ma Ji over the moon. Of course. My cousin is quite the figure in Western capital. Have you ever heard of his great name, the leopard? Oh, right, it's your first time here. Are you here to seek refuge with relatives? No, I've come to find a job and settle down. Han Xiao chose a random answer. What do you say, wanna come with me? Follow my brother and you will have a bright future. Ma Ji suddenly became animated. Han Xiao rejected his offer, but Ma Ji was not easily dissuaded. Let me tell you what ordinary life is like in the city. 2 words: poverty and sadness. Do you want to eat spoiled food every day? The 6 nations are just putting on a show to welcome wanderers like you. The truth is that they could hardly give a damn about you. If you follow me, I can guarantee that you'll be fed well for the rest of your life. No thanks. Han Xiao's repeated refusals clearly upset Ma Ji. Fool! You'll regret this. Don't come crying to me in the future. Han Xiao ignored the idiot and turned away. Ma Ji glared at him. A while later, the van stopped in front of what seemed to be a closed tunnel. There was an officer waiting for them on the other side of the fence in the tunnel. He opened the passageway to let them in upon receiving payment from the ringleader. Follow the officer, he will bring you to the outskirts of the city. The officer silently led them through the compound. When they finally stepped out into the sun, they were greeted by a line of skyscrapers in the distance. As the group scattered, Ma Ji glared at Han Xiao one more time before going on his way. As Han Xiao walked on the streets, he noticed that his tattered clothes were gaining a lot of attention. Without any money to quench his thirst, he had to look for a public water dispensary. All he had to his name was a 7-day stench. Of course, none of it actually posed a problem to him. Half an hour later, Han Xiao emerged from a shopping mall dressed in a white shirt and black pants. There was a cigarette in his mouth. You have unlocked a new ability, LV1 Steal. Steal increases your success rate when stealing. In his previous life, many real-life skills had practical use in the game. For example, someone who had a military background would have an easier time grasping shooting-related abilities in the game. As the saying goes, one can never learn too many tricks. Han Xiao only acquired skills in thievery as a means of self-defense against thieves. Me, a thief? Hey, don't accuse me of stealing if you don't have proof. I, the Venerable Han, am a law-abiding, state-loving citizen. Back in secondary school and high school, I was always the model student. I was in the top 3 every year. People always praised me for being a righteous young man, plus I've never even peeked on a girl before, much less steal. As for now, cough, I'm just borrowing some money from a kindred soul out of desperation. You feel me, bro?